I'm lost. Hello, friends. Today I thought I would talk a little bit about survival skills and what to do if you find yourself lost in the woods. So it's actually the 1-year anniversary of my channel, and I decided to come back to the same spot that I did my very first video a year ago. And I gotta say, I have learned a lot. So come along and celebrate my 1-year anniversary with me. So generally it's a good idea to get a shelter set up first in a survival situation. However, because I know there's not any sign of weather coming in, it's not raining, and it's minus 10 degrees Celsius right now, I'm actually going to get a fire going first because it's going to be really important for me to stay warm. So I can feel myself getting really cold. My mouth isn't moving properly. So I'm going to build a platform fire. So I've got my base here, and then I gathered some old man's beard and made a little bird's nest. So this old man's beard I think is going to be able to light pretty easily. I will add some magnesium from my ferro rod with the spine of my knife and scrape it into there to help it to catch. Oh, I think we got it. Yay. It's important to make sure that you have gathered enough materials ahead of time so that you have enough to put on the fire. If you don't, you could work really hard to get your fire started and then it can just go out on you. So I'm going to cut longer sections of this log because it's going to take less energy, and I can just put it into the fire and then keep feeding it. So I started the fire with the smaller sticks on top of my little platform, and then I added this base log here right beside the fire that I started, and then I laid these longer logs kind of fanned out with the ends in the fire that's already burning. So the idea is now as these logs burn, I can just keep moving them up to feed the fire. So this should last me like a good long while. A true Siberian log fire, you ideally want to be using logs that are a lot bigger than this. So when I go out into the forest, there are a few essentials that I always make sure to bring with me. And I think that these are all items that could end up really saving your life if you get yourself into a tough situation, such as being lost. So I always bring a pot. I bring my axe, my saw, ferro rod, an emergency shelter, and arguably most important, a knife. By the way, I still have not settled on a name for my knife. Thank you for all the suggestions, and please keep them coming. Also, I forgot to mention I always bring extra paracord with me. This one's really cool because it also has fishing line and fire starter inside of it, as well as a bunch of extra strands, which can just come in really handy in various situations. And this stuff is pretty cheap, so yeah, definitely recommend getting some of that. Okay, so I've got myself set up between these two trees here. I'm going to try to get my shelter as taut as I can. Ooh, cold fingers. I'm just going to sharpen a couple of sticks and hammer them into the snow, and hopefully that will be stable enough. Try to get it nice and tight. It's pretty much a 5-star resort. So not super fancy, but I think it does in a pinch. I actually really like this shelter. This is the Rab Sill Poncho. So it's actually a poncho, a rain poncho, ultra lightweight. I also bring it into the Alpine sometimes. And yeah, really good in a pinch, obviously. So I usually pack it around with me. So I usually bring around with me a wool blanket and one of these handy dandy yellow pads. If you didn't have something like this, you might want to gather some like green branches to lie down in your shelter to create a bit of a barrier from the snow, keep you a little bit warmer and a little comfier. One thing that you're going to want to consider as you're setting up your shelter is the proximity to your fire. Because I'm not actually in a survival situation, I did keep my fire a little bit further away because I just don't want burn holes in my shelter. But if you are in an emergency situation, you want your fire to be close enough that it's actually going to keep you warm when you're in your shelter. So keep that in mind when you are choosing your spots to build your fire in the first place. So one thing that Les Stroud says, the Survivor Man, is to gather as much wood as you think you'll need and then triple it. So I'm thinking about that first time that I came out here to make a video, and I was doing some axing and I missed and I almost took the axe into my shin and I scared myself so badly. Like, I gotta say, I'm a lot more comfortable with the axe now, but I'm still not very comfortable with the axe. It's not my most confident tool of choice. But yeah, I'm still working on it. I do a lot of my axe work from my knees so that there isn't really that risk of swinging back towards yourself. But yeah, so that's a skill that I was very, very green with on that first video a year ago, and I still feel green, but I'm working on it. One thing I love about this Siberian log fire style is that the hearth gets so hot. So getting out into the wilderness in the winter, especially in temperatures this low, it's really no joke, and things can go bad really quickly. So I think it's really, really important to go prepared. First of all, you should really always tell somebody where you're going and when you expect to be back, so that if something goes wrong, people know where to look for you. Also, I think it's important to make sure that you are bringing some survival essential things with you. You should make sure that you've got some first aid, that you've got extra food, that you've got a communication device, along with some survival basics, just in case you do something like axe yourself in the leg. I hope that never happens to any of you, by the way. So I'm just gonna survive out here for a while longer. And if you never see this video, I guess you know I didn't survive. Or maybe Oak will come along and rescue me. I don't know if I'm lucky.